Good afternoon and welcome to another of a Meet the Designer and of course the opportunity to learn some tips and tricks about how to improve your amigurumi as well. So in case we haven't met before, my name is Fiona. I am the designer behind Cozy Rosie UK and I am a huge fan of crochet generally. So come on in, come on in. We're waiting for the wonderful Lisa to come and join us. I've just seen that she's arrived and I'm going to give her the opportunity to tell us more about her featured pattern in the Spring Exclusives event today. We're very fortunate to have Lisa as one of our chosen designers in the event. She's also a very good friend of mine in the crochet designer world. I'm sure she won't mind me saying. So I'm just going to add her in. And then there she is. Oh, I've not done that before. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
Let me just...
Can you hear me all right?
Hear you. Sorry. Your mic is currently not connected. So while you do that, let me just change back. I'll come back to you in a moment, Lisa. I'll let you sort that one out. Let me see if I can unmute you. No.
How about now?
Okay. Come back in a moment. It's fine. Don't worry. Don't worry. I still can't hear you.
Oh, well.
That's okay. Not to worry. Well, I'm just going to pop back to myself and I'll come back to you in a second. I'll be able to see if I can hear you. Okay. So while we wait for Lisa to sort out her audio issues, always fun, these technological things. You know how much I love them and how much I tend to get wrong with them. So today, as I said, we've got Lisa joining us, who's going to talk us through some tips and tricks with regards to amigurumi specifically. That's one of her favorite styles of crochet to work with and design in. And it is certainly one of mine as well. You can see behind me, I've got my crochet egg, which is a crochet Easter egg, and it is actually an amigurumi style, but we're going to talk about why that's considered amigurumi, even though it's huge, a little bit later. Now, I think Lisa is now working with her mic, so let's just bring her back in to join us. Hello.
Can you hear me?
No.
Oh,
I can't hear you. I'm not sure.
Oh, no, darn it.
You may need to restart, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Is that okay? Okay, so I'll hold the fort and we'll see you in a moment. We'll see you in a moment. So while Lisa restarts her computer. Oh, you can hear Lisa, so it's just me. And I've just got rid of her as well. Oh, I apologize. So it's possibly just my computer not working. She'll be back with us in a moment, not to worry. But thank you for letting me know that you can hear Lisa. It was just me. So while we're waiting for Lisa to come back, now I've got rid of her unnecessarily. Could you let me know in the comments what it is that you love about amigurumi? Now, for me, most definitely, it has to be just the whole cute element of the types of patterns that people create for them. From a designer perspective, most definitely, it can be kind of complicated to work out how you want all those pieces of that pattern to come together. And as a maker, you certainly need to like sewing. Now, I know there is definitely a trend coming through in some of the designs that are being released most recently where there are some no-sew amigurumi patterns. Now, these are, of course, going to be my favorites because I don't like sewing things together, but some people do enjoy it. So I would love to know if you love to make amigurumi, if you've ever faced any challenges when making amigurumi, and of course, whether or not would you consider yourself skilled in the art of amigurumi? So let's add Lisa back in. Here she is. I think it was my problem. I'm sorry. It was me. Everyone else could hear you. So.
That's okay.
I was just kind of asking, we've got a lovely few people watching us at the moment, and I've asked them to kind of let us know if they have any challenges that they faced with the amigurumi previously. And I'm going to pick your brain with regards to some of your top tips. Now, just in case there was a technical issue, I've made my list, but it might be very different to yours. So I want to find out more about your top tips. But before we get into that, do you by any chance have today's featured pattern near you? I am such a fan of this pattern. I really am. I absolutely love it. So this is you kind of going back to your designing roots, wouldn't you say?
Yes, yeah. I learned a lot of what I know about crocheting by doing pattern tests for Carolina Guzman of 1 and 2 Company, and she makes some of the most amazing amigurumis I've ever seen. So Yeah. And I guess that was, I started crocheting because I wanted to make things for my kids. So that was kind of like the thing I automatically went to first was, making toys. So I have 5 kids. So, it was kind of an obvious move for me.
It's always astounds me, the idea that you have 5 children behind your business that you have to sort out alongside all the business elements as well. Wow, that's phenomenal. So you started kind of making crochet patterns, as in working with other designers, kind of testing their patterns and learning more about the actual amigurumi style itself. Now, do you know any of the history of amigurumi at all?
Not really. I mean, I know it's I know that it's a Japanese style originally, and it's when I first learned about it, I thought it was like this very specific, like this flower here, where you make like single crochets and you work in rounds. But if you do research on the term, it really is anything that's created using shapes in crochet. So even though this is completely different, sorry, I'm trying to figure out what we can see here.
We can see all of it. Don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah, this is still considered amigurumi, and so are these. It's the use of 3-dimensional shapes. So that's about all.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
The actual word itself originates from the word ami, which is the word for knitted or crocheted.
Yeah, that's right.
And then nigurumi is toys, effectively. So it originates with stuffed toys back way back. And then in the 1970s, obviously, it was kind of picked up alongside that kawaii.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Whole kind of cuteness and that kind of element. And then, of course, in the early 2000s, manga really took off and everyone was kind of creating all of those wonderful things as well. And now we have some phenomenal crochet designers, and I'd put you in amongst them. Don't you worry about that. Yes, because it's a very competitive, or should I say, it's a very popular style of crochet. Yeah. Let's word it that way, because there are a lot of amigurumi designers out there. Would you say?
Oh yeah, there are a lot. But it's really cool to see how unique everyone's style is. I love that there's tons of people doing it, but everyone's is really kind of distinct. So
I think it's easy to add your own kind of distinct personality into your designs. And even as a maker, you can almost kind of push that into it as well. So I just
just like by making different color choices, going with traditional colors or like going with wild colors, or the fun self-striping yarns really make it easy to add some personality.
You are a fan of a self-striping yarn. I can see quite a few behind you. Wow. So what is it about the self-striping yarn that lends itself so well to your designs?
Well, one of my least favorite things to do in crochet is weave in the ends. So the idea that I can add colors without having to do that. And I am a creator of like a lot of designs that have a lot of ends to weave in. So just because I don't like it doesn't mean, I don't still do it, obviously. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I love color. So, when those first came out, I was immediately drawn to them just because it's a way to throw together colors. Obviously, the yarn companies that are creating these are putting a lot of thought and science into the choice of colors. So, which is something I've actually studied. I have a background in painting. So, color's always been, interesting to me, and color choices in crochet have always kind of been a thing of mine. I actually wrote an ebook on that, just like a little one, a while back. So,
and where would one find your ebook?
it's not anywhere right now. I need to I mean, I gave it away as a free promotional thing. Gosh,
maybe
it's been almost a year
for
now.
another couple of months then, because something else is coming very soon, Lisa. We'll reshare that again. Now, Betty has joined us. She said she's still trying to learn this kind of unique style of crochet, because it is, in theory, a bit of a technique all of its own, isn't it? Really?
Oh yeah.
When you consider those tips and tricks. So would you say that your kind of style of amigurumi, would that be considered a beginner pattern?
I would say beginner to intermediate. That's kind of where I hover. I try to I probably more toward intermediate, but I try to include a lot of photo tutorials because I know how much that really helped me in the beginning. It kind of bridges the gap, and especially with amigurumi, you can word something, but seeing it really helps you understand how and where something is meant to go together. And so that's kind of how I help to make the patterns a little bit more accessible to somebody who's learning. And I've always a person who would like when I was learning, I would always tackle things that were above my level, but you know, a lot of the PDF patterns that I got on Etsy and stuff to learn with, you know, they had those photo tutorials that helped me, you know, get over that hump and learn things.
Tutorial, I love it.
Yeah.
I think even as a designer, it helps me to make sure that I'm wording my pattern in a way that people can understand as well. It works both ways. It helps me as well, definitely.
Yeah.
So we've got today, obviously, your vase and flower amigurumi pattern is available as part of the Spring Exclusives event. So that means that people can grab a copy of that beautiful full crochet pattern with photo tutorials and all of the wonderful things with a massive discount. So it's available today with 50% off. I've put a link in the description box for people to get hold of that. And if you are watching this after today, which is the 14th of March, 2022, you never know, it's going to be on here for a while. You can still grab the pattern. It's linked below under the Spring Exclusives link, or you can head over directly to Lisa's blog that I've also linked below for you and find out more about that pattern too. Now, as an absolute beginner to amigurumi, as we say, or what would you say would be the most important skill to start a project that people might need to know?
I'm going to give you two, actually. Working in the round, being able to work in the round, and a magic circle is kind of like it's magic. I mean, it's really aptly named because it allows you to start your project and cinch that little hole at the beginning tight. Now, sometimes it's not an issue, but I find, especially when you're a beginner, that sometimes if you work into the second chain, you can end up with kind of a big gap. Although I did actually write this pattern I didn't actually include the magic circle in this particular one, just because for how these are made, I didn't feel like it was necessary, and it is easier to chain two and work into that second chain from the hook.
Definitely.
So, but I do use magic circle for basically everything because it just allows you to, you know, you can put like 12 double crochets into a magic circle and cinch it tight
and more.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm thinking about my bag patterns. I have like 16 double crochets into one, because that magic circle, I think, is a rite of passage for people that are learning to crochet. Mastering that, it definitely I remember it taking me a long time, and I found so many different ways of making a magic circle. And even today I see, especially with the reels on Instagram, there are so many more different ways of doing it. I can't do them. I've tried, because I always want to give these other techniques a go. And actually I like the way I do it. I know it's going to stay closed. And I think there are always going to be occasions that a magic circle or an adjustable ring, because I'm in the UK. So I have to use the alternative as well. There are times that it's not suitable. So I do see people using a magic circle, for instance, in the start of a granny square, and I kind of shake in my boots because it can come undone. It can, can't it? Let's be honest, especially if you're washing something. So it's just something to bear in. So beautiful. They're using the chain two and working into that first chain for no particular reason other than it's just a little bit easier for people.
Yes. And it's not going to come undone. That's so, you know, when you're making, let's say, children's toys, which is something that we do a lot with for amigurumi, that's something you have to bear in mind. If you opt to use a magic circle, you need to make sure to weave in that beginning chain really well. And that is a reason why I do sometimes opt to use the other, the chain two method when I'm making kids stuff.
That's more than just a top tip. That is a safety advisory notice, isn't it? Let's be honest, because I know especially in the UK, for us to sell finished amigurumi toys, there is a lot of hoops to go through, understandably.
Exactly.
You know, and one of the reasons that is because crochet things can come undone. So, you know, the tighter and the more secure we can do them. I tie knots in my projects.
Me too. And I tie like 6 knots when I'm tying a knot.
it comes undone no matter how secure we think it is. Sometimes it can still come undone.
Yeah. And it's better to be safe than sorry when it comes to kids. I mean,
100%. 100%. So let's run through some of your other top tips then. Obviously, we know that to start that project, like all projects, we need to make sure that the start is secure and it's neat and tidy, because usually, would you say that the majority of toys, for instance, are worked kind of top down, aren't they? So you're talking about potentially a crown of a head or the bottom of a circle. I don't want to say bottom of a bum, but bottom of a circle, you know. So what would be the next part that would be really useful for people to master?
Well, I like to, when I'm adding faces, I like to usually do them before I close up and finish off my work, but it's something that you can kind of do either way. And it's almost like a personal choice. Now you'll notice that most patterns will tell you to add the face either before or after you close off the head. But, once you've kind of got the idea down of what you're doing, you'll find doing it before you close off the face is you can secure your ends and everything better. But when you're a beginner, a lot of times it's better to do it afterwards, because then you can position it, and don't be afraid to pull it back out and do it again. I mean, that was something I never wanted to undo anything when I was first learning. And so I look back at my projects and, you know, kind of wince it, especially the embroidered.
Yeah.
My goodness. Practice makes perfect.
It really
and
does.
It's okay. We all had to do it. We all had to rip stuff out, do it over and over again. And the more you do it, the more you're learning and the better you're getting. So don't be afraid to do that.
The whole point of crochet is that we will make mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
That's why it's so easy to undo our mistakes, you know, and it isn't difficult. It's just annoying more than anything, isn't it? Really, to be honest.
Crochet is really easy to undo. It is. It's really nice. You just rip it out.
Unless you're using roving yarn, but that's a whole different video.
Yeah, there are a few yarns that are more difficult to frog. But
so what I'm hearing then is perhaps we need to have a bit of a focus on counting when you were doing amigurumi.
Use a stitch marker. Keep track of your rounds.
The sun is about to hit my face. When it does, I'll shut my blind. Yes, that is one of the most important tools. Now, where do you put your stitch marker?
I put it in the first stitch of the round, because I don't know, I just can't do it in the last stitch. It throws me off.
I get so confused. But I do think, I mean, one of the things I really struggled with is obviously with some patterns, it asks you to slip stitch and join the round, doesn't it?
Yes.
And then, of course, you've got a different risk, haven't you? That you kind of add an extra stitch into that slip stitch each round as well. I fell for that so many times.
It's like a rite of passage.
Yes, and that's why stitch markers become your friends, most definitely.
Well, and you know, working in continuous rounds really gives your amigurumi like a nicer look to it. You can't tell where the rounds begin and end that way. So, you know, on certain things it makes more sense to close the round up, but when it comes to amigurumi, it's almost always going to be worked in continuous rounds. So, which presents its own challenge for color changes, which was another one of my.
Oh, no, this I need to hear, because there is something that is called, of course, and the name is for this technique, the jogless join. Is it jogless color change?
Yeah, I think that's the one I've. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about what it's called.
Oh, sorry.
But that's a really kind of like a cool thing to learn too when you've got that, because I make these little Easter egg rattle things that I sell a ton of this time of year, and some of them are striped, and so when I learned how to do that, it really makes it look a lot nicer, because then you have less of a front and a back.
And I must admit my giant Easter egg is joined so I could change colors easily, because I'm really lazy.
Yeah, and that's when it's sometimes more appropriate to join your rounds instead of working continuously. But
yes, I must admit I love the look of like that spiral or that continuous join. There's no sign of those chains, no bumps, no worrying about the size of your slip stitch or anything like that. You just keep going and using that stitch marker so you know where the start of the round is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What other top tips do you have?
We covered almost everything. The other last thing I had was about stuffing, because again, it was something that I kind of had to learn through trial and error. But usually I say less is more, but when you're talking about stuffing, more is more. it's always better to overstuff. Again, especially when we're talking about kids' toys, partly for safety, but because they're going to get loved on, they're going to get squashed flat over time. And so if you understuff it, then it's going to get squashed flat a lot faster. So always add more than you think. And the trick to getting unlumpy stuffing is I've been making Easter eggs. So I have stuffing right here.
Oh, it's that time of year again for you, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I've probably made 100 or so already this year. Yep.
Oh my, have you got any Easter eggs there you can share with us?
Actually, I do have an order that I haven't shipped out yet.
So these are you sell your finished makes on Etsy as well, don't you?
Yes, in a separate shop. Yeah, I sell this pattern too, but yeah, these are my little eggs. So these are the pattern has 3 sizes. This is like this kind of standard. It's around the size of a chicken egg. So, and they have little rattles in them. So
that's a big chicken.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, my chickens lay eggs around that size.
Oh, yours are free range and home loved, aren't they? Yeah, our eggs aren't that size, I can assure you here. So they can find that pattern on your Etsy shop?
Yes. Yep. And it has, actually, I have the other sizes over there, but I have to dig a little, so we don't need it that badly. But so the key to getting the stuffing, to get enough stuffing in and not having it get lumpy, is I use little bits. Like for those eggs especially, I take puffs like this big, and so I'm going to use probably about this much stuffing to make one of the eggs, maybe even a little bit more. So you can see how much more space the stuffing takes up than the actual size of the egg. So you're using, say, 4 times as much stuffing as the actual item appears to be, because you really want to stuff it in there good. And these little bits will help keep it from getting lumpy and bumpy over time. Again, the whole I have 5 kids thing, I know how the stuffed animals wear over time. Because I've seen it.
You know, there's nothing wrong with a very well loved stuffy, let's be honest. No. So what about some people, I've seen lots of people mention, especially in some of the other Facebook groups, that they struggle with their stuffing showing through their stitches.
Okay.
Is there anything that we can do to kind of help that?
Yeah. Go down a hook size. Or tighten up your tension, but it's easier to just go down a hook size. Like, you know, I generally work with a G hook, but I don't know. I adjust my tension when I'm making a amigurumi versus making other things. So I think I used an F hook for these flowers. Stop drooping. They actually, well, they have the little chenille stems in them, so they're not supposed to droop like that. But I've got my top tips for you as well. This is the longer stem. I actually ended up shortening it after the pattern testers. We decided that the stem needed to be a little shorter. So so they actually don't stick up quite as much above the vase, so you don't get that, because the flowers are heavy when you get those several rows together. So that's why we test our patterns, so that we can get somebody else's eyes and brains on them, and then they're as close to perfect as they can be before we send them out to the world. Yeah.
So that's another top tip then, is don't be afraid to use other things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I have like there's other wire that people will use to make like the amigurumis that have like the long skinny posable arms and stuff like that.
I use fluorescent wire for mine.
Yeah, there's lots of other things. I just I don't know, I just knew I wanted to use something that was like easily accessible to people to make those. So like I put 3 of those kind of twisted together in these stems, and then you get, you know, you can like bend it and it will stay. So I think that's really fun. Because, you know, I had kids in mind when I designed these, although they also make a wonderful Mother's Day gift or just spring decor for your home that you don't have to water, or, you know, it's never going to turn brown. So I love that.
I really love them. And I mean, our Mother's Day is actually only 2 weeks away, the 27th of March. I think, when's yours? May?
Yeah, it's the first Sunday in May. I don't know the exact date, but
I have no idea why we're on different days, but we've literally got 2 weeks. So today is the best day to get hold of this pattern, get them made. You can gift them to your mum or to anybody else as well. So your top tip for kind of hiding that stuffing is to potentially go down a hook size than the yarn is recommending, and then potentially increase your tension.
Yes. Yeah. And you want to work tight when you're going to stuff something, because it will stretch. And You can also opt to use a yarn that's less stretchy. Cotton yarn, a stiffer yarn like Red Heart Super Saver, Karen Simply Soft is great for amigurumis, although I do find it pills a little bit over time, but I've made plenty of amigurumis for my kids out of that because it doesn't stretch. So, and it's got that nice pretty sheen to it. But yeah, I mean, I do tend to use cotton a lot of times for like those eggs that I made. Those are all made with cotton. And especially really when you're making something for a baby, and it's going to go in the mouth, I like to use cotton or like a cotton and wool blend would be really nice too. Things that are natural fibers are nice for that.
So what about the technique of yarning under rather than yarning over with your yarn? How can that impact on kind of the stuffing showing?
Honestly, I haven't done that.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No worries. I'm certainly not the expert.
So with the yarning under technique, it literally just makes your stitches so much tighter. It does make working your yarn a little bit difficult because obviously working back into the round again, it's a little bit tighter, but it really closes. If you are someone who crochets a little bit looser, it definitely reduces that stitch size and prevents the stuffing showing through. One of the other things that I've done myself when making gingerbread men and that kind of thing for Christmas, I tend to only do amigurumi style at Christmas or holidays. I don't know why. I also used what I would call tights, and you might refer to as pantyhose, to put the stuffing into like a solid object.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a really good idea. Yeah. See, I've done that with like adding those little beads that give weight to the bottom of them. But yeah, I haven't actually done that with the stuffing.
I'm over prepared for this video just in case.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well,
so I
have 5 kids. I'm not scatterbrained at all, Fiona.
Yeah. So these are polyurethane plastic beads. I know you can't see because the sun is now really bright, but they are literally. Oh my! No, that doesn't work. Sorry.
And I think in the US we would call them like poly pellets. I think that's what the ones I have are called. So just in case anybody's having a hard time finding them. But I feel like in this day and age, you can search any kind of name and Google will help you figure it out.
Yes. Oh, it does. 100%. So yeah, poly. I don't know how to say that. It's not polyurethane. That's something else entirely different. Yeah, poly pellets would do, definitely. Or plastic beads. If you search for them, come up as well. And I put them in tights at the bottom to kind of hold things to stop them falling over. So I didn't mention it in my YouTube video. You know when you forget to put things, then you think about it again. So in my Easter egg, it would have been ideal to put some of those at the bottom. Yeah, I forgot. Oh, good. The sun's gone in. There's a cloud. You can see me again. That's good. So yeah, yarning under is definitely a great way of doing it. But I think for me, I do tend to go down a hook size to the yarn I'm using. So with your flowers, are they made using a worsted weight?
Yes, they are.
And what I would say a 4mm. So an Aran weight yarn with a 4mm crochet hook, or a worsted weight with a 4mm.
Yeah, I actually used a 375 on that.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
that hook,
my pretty new hook.
That hook is massive. You can't see how tiny the actual hook is.
Yeah, here I'm sure I've got another one. Come on. You know, oh, here's another one. All of mine are all of mine have ergonomic handles because gosh, when you get to those tiny ones, you really need it. But
yes, you really do. Completely.
I have a crochet hook problem.
We all do. And I've started staging mine on my shelves now. I've got so many just to make my shelves look pretty.
Yeah.
So any other top tips that you would say to anybody with regards to amigurumi?
No, those are kind of the main things that I had thought of.
No, it's fine. I know I didn't give you much time. I'm sorry.
No worries.
One other thing that I kind of found really useful that I wanted to learn almost straight away, and I'm glad I did, was when doing your decreases. It might be something you're automatically doing, but using that invisible decrease when working on the round, because it does. My decreases sometimes get a bit floppy, so I leave holes. So the invisible decrease, you work just into those front loops, and that prevents you seeing the decrease. Actually, it literally does become invisible. It looks like you've just worked one stitch. So that really kind of is my top tip. I do have a tutorial for that. I should have linked that as well, shouldn't I? If you want to learn how to do the invisible decrease, I will pop that in the description box a little bit later as well. So there's some serious top tips there. Just have a look. We've not missed anything else, which is amazing.
I know I've been meaning to write a blog post.
Yeah, me too now. That was written all out, but yes, I'll beat you to it. But because what I will do is I'll share this video onto there as well, so people can find your top tips, because you've literally shared some amazing things with us today, and I'm hugely appreciative of you coming on and taking the opportunity to share with us what you do with your amigurumi, because we are all different. We all use different techniques, but it's such a wide and varied crochet technique or style, depending on how you look at it. And I'm a huge fan of your particular style of amigurumi, especially your beautiful pattern, which you are launching today as part of the Spring Exclusives event. Tick the box. I've done it. I've said it again. Yay! Oh, they're just so cute. It's that pink daisy. Literally, I just want a whole vase full of those personally.
Yeah.
My absolute fave. Could you ship those to me? That would be great.
I know. I'm like, should I list these? But no.
Do they take long to make?
No, they're not too bad. And like the stem is so simple because it's just 6 single crochet,
round and round and round. Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest with everyone right here. I don't count while I go. I just work and then I count how many rows I've made at the end. Because it doesn't really matter if it's exactly perfect for something like this. Now, on these petals, yes, I was paying attention, but I didn't even use a stitch marker when I make the stems. I just go.
Just keep going.
And I'm just watching like Supernatural or whatever it is I'm watching on Netflix at the time. That's what I'm currently watching.
I'm not even good. I still have to watch what I'm doing. I can listen to the TV, but I can't watch it at the same time.
Yeah, with stuff like that, I can. I mean, there are certainly other things where I have to pay more attention. But yeah, that kind of just single crochet over and over again, that's like the perfect TV project for me.
Yes. Well, I'm going to thank you so much again for joining me this morning. It is kind of morning still for you, afternoon for me. So just before you go, tell me what your next project is going to be. I always ask this question because I'm just nosy. I want to know what you're working on next.
Well, I have 2 patterns with testers right now. So, and they happen to be sitting on my desk right in front of me. So I'll show you. So this is an Easter basket with 3 sizes that are all nested right now because
I have to say, when I saw that picture of you putting your tester call out, I thought they were tiny.
Yeah, this one is, but no, I wanted to make sure that they would hold stuff for my own.
I've got a little mini, like you can literally, the little mini eggs, that's to hold the mini eggs, definitely.
I got Kathy from Kathy's Cozies made me these little name labels for them. So
oh, they're beautiful.
There's gonna be one for each of my kids. So
and they're egg shaped. Oh my goodness, it's just far too clever, isn't it?
They're so cute. We have fun working together. Kathy and I have collaborated on several different projects. So yeah. And then the other one is an amigurumi pattern. Ooh. So it's this little butterfly. There we go.
Again, I thought it was tiny. I'm so sorry. I don't know what it is about them. Oh my God, Lisa, that is.
Well, there was no size reference, but yeah, this one just went out to testers this morning, as a matter of fact. So
that is stunning. So when can we expect those beauties?
The Easter basket will be really soon because my testers will be finished up tomorrow. So I was maybe shooting for Saturday, but I don't know because I think I'm going to run a spring sale this weekend, and I don't know if I'll have my kids are on spring break right now, so we're going to the zoo on Friday, and it's kind of crazy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Let me know as soon as it is because I've got my next Easter pattern roundup coming out next Tuesday. So I'd love to be able to include those baskets in there for people.
Okay.
And the beautiful
and then the butterfly. Yeah, that'll probably be very beginning of April if. Well, maybe the end of March, but it'll be end of the month. Good. So
I might have to treat myself to that one because I think that's an absolute stunner. It really is. So a huge thank you. I hope you've enjoyed joining me today, and thank you so much for everyone that's watched us today. You can go and follow Lisa over on Instagram. She makes some great reels and she does some beautiful custom print t-shirts, which you are sporting today, one of my favorites.
Yes,
the yarn so you can go and check those out on her Etsy shop as well. I haven't put your Etsy link in, apologies. I'll do that for you now. If you want to get hold of your own copy of the amigurumi flower and vase pattern, that is currently linked to the Spring Exclusives event. To get your coupon code, I'll update that tomorrow, so it'll go direct to you, don't worry. But I just want to thank you so much, Lisa. It's been, as always, an absolute pleasure talking to you.
You too.
And yeah, we'll have to do it again soon sometime.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe in the summer.
Maybe. Who knows? That'll be June. Book it in now. Yes. So thank you again. And thank you guys for checking out all our amigurumi top tips and tricks. Later on, there will be a link to my roundup of all these tips and tricks that Lisa shared with us and some of my own, so that you really can get your amigurumi looking the best that it can do. So thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you soon. You're welcome. Bye.